Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I am back today to share with you guys another Will I Buy. There have been a lot of new releases coming out lately. Well, I mean, that's the story always, right? But I wanted to sit down and chat through some of these, talk to you guys about some of the things that have maybe caught my eye or that I'm a little bit interested in. Also the things that I am definitely not interested in, and of course hear your guys' thoughts as well. I always love hearing what you guys are curious about. As always, I will be getting my information, my pictures, all from Trend Moods Instagram, which I will link down below. Also, I will be sure to link Samantha March, who is the original creator of this series, her channel, her most recent video down below, as well as the community playlist that she created for other creators. So I hope that you guys are excited to talk about some of these new releases. Those of you that are new to my channel, I hope that you will stick around, hit that subscribe button, and let's go ahead and get started. Alright guys, so I want to start off with what I think is maybe one of the ones that has perhaps the most hype around, and it is the new Jaclyn Hill Highlight collection that she is coming out with this holiday season. The collection is scheduled to be released on November 26th. So in her highlight collection, she's releasing loose highlighters, which are going to be $24 each. She's also releasing loose luminous powders, which are going to be $32 each, and then two different highlighting palettes, one aimed more at like medium to fair skin and one medium to deep skin. Those are each $49 a piece, and each of those have 4 different highlighting shades inside of them. I actually think this is a great collection for her to release. I think we all know that Jaclyn Hill's kind of known for that highlight kind of look, so I feel like this is a really good fit for her brand. This is one that I am interested in seeing how other people like it. I'm not planning to pick this up certainly on launch day. I think that this is probably going to be a really successful launch for her, and I'm excited to see other people try it out and see what they have to say about it. Really the only reason that I'm not planning personally to pick this one up is I have a lot of good highlighters in my collection right now. I honestly feel generally pretty content with where I'm sitting right now in my collection. I'm really feeling the need, and kind of not even necessarily the need, but just wanting to kind of take a break for a minute and enjoy what I have, because I feel like it starts to feel stressful when you can't keep up with all the new launches, and that's the very last thing I ever want makeup to feel like for me. I want to be able to enjoy the things that I have, and sometimes that means taking a little bit of a break. So I'm not one that's eager to pick this up, but I am excited to see what other people think of this. I'm excited to start to see the reviews roll in, because I bet that this is going to be a beautiful highlight. If I was to pick up one, most likely I would probably go for the loose highlighter, just because it's a little bit cheaper. My issue with highlighting palettes in general is usually when I have a highlighting palette, there's usually 1 or 2 shades that I favor. It's not even that I dislike the other shades, but when there's 1 or 2 shades that I favor, and especially if there's 1 or 2 shades that I dislike, every time I reach for that palette, I'm reminded of the fact that I'm not using the other 2 that I don't like. And for some reason that kind of feels wasteful and is a little bit bothersome to me. So I generally don't like highlighting palettes. I just prefer individual highlighters for the most part. But I would love to hear from you guys. Are you guys excited about this? Are you guys absolutely not interested in this? Have you guys still not recovered maybe from her first launch? I would love to know any of your thoughts in the comments down below. So now let's move on to some things from ColourPop. And as always, there's a lot of things from ColourPop. In fact, I was going to film this video last week, ended up not filming it, and now there's like 3 more things from ColourPop that have come out when I checked today. So the first one, this one's been out for a little while, is the ColourPop Frozen collection. I'm not really interested in this one, and the biggest reason that I'm not interested in this one is because, again, these palettes include the pressed glitters in them. The collection as a whole is not really something that interests me. Generally, with most of ColourPop stuff, it's the eyeshadow palettes that I'm interested in, and these ones just aren't super exciting to me. I'm not the biggest Frozen fan, and by that I'm not saying that I don't like Frozen, I'm just not like a Frozen fan. I actually recently heard Andrea Montolano here on YouTube review these, and she actually said they weren't fantastic. They had some formula issues, which in her opinion she felt was pretty rare for ColourPop. So these are definitely going to be a pass for me, but let me know if these are interesting to you guys. So another thing from ColourPop is their Pretty Fresh Hyaluronic Concealer. So this also has been out for a little while. I'm somewhat curious about this. I've been seeing reviews start to roll in, and it's kind of been getting mixed reviews. So I'm a little less interested now that I've seen a couple of people say that they didn't like it or didn't last on them very well. I don't know. Let me know if any of you guys have tried this one. It's $9 and you get 0.3 ounces, which I think is a pretty good price for a concealer. I'm just not sure about this one now. I have a lot of concealers right now that I'm really happy with and I would like to work through. So I think this is going to be a pass for right now, but let me know if you guys have tried it, especially if you have dry, aging under eyes. So the next ColourPop release that does actually interest me is the ColourPop Coconuts collection, specifically the eyeshadow palette. This palette looks beautiful. It looks very, what a lot of people might say, boring. I mean, it's truly a neutral palette, but I think it looks really, really pretty. It's actually hard to find a neutral palette. I don't know if you guys feel that way. I don't have that many palettes in my collection that I would consider truly neutral. Most of them lean either a little bit warm or a little bit cool. I would say probably the only two that I would really consider to be straight neutral palettes are maybe the ABH Sultry palette and my Tartelette in Bloom palette. Not that I own every palette in the world, but I own a lot of eyeshadow palettes. And I just find that it's more rare than you think it would be to have a neutral palette. So this is one that I'm kind of interested in. I certainly probably don't need it. I think I would be a lot more eager to get this palette if it actually smelled like coconuts. And I know that's kind of ridiculous, but I love a good, delicious smelling cheek or eyeshadow product. I do. And heaven knows I love the smell of coconut. So I'm a little bit disappointed in hearing people say that it actually doesn't smell like coconuts. I don't know why I would expect that because ColourPop doesn't typically scent their products, but I feel like for this one, they have just scented it a little bit. Like, talk to Physicians Formula, borrow their scent for just a minute and put it inside this palette and I would be all over it. But let me know if you guys are interested in this. Do you guys think it's boring? Are you into kind of the more neutral color scheme from them? Especially after all of the colorful releases they've been doing, I would love to hear from you guys. Another thing I saw that they released just today is a collaboration, another collaboration with KathleenLights. They released a single shadow collection with her. It's called the Minor in Astrology collection. It's a 24 shade individual eyeshadow palette for $45. This I thought was super interesting, especially because So Jaded came out so recently. I'm really surprised that they collaborated so soon after the So Jaded palette. I don't think this palette is meant to necessarily compete with that palette. I mean, it's a totally different thing altogether. It's the individual shadows, but I don't know. It just feels so soon. I mean, none of us are really, I think, ever surprised that ColourPop releases things so quickly, but this to me feels a little more obviously like, okay, well, So Jaded went so well for us. Let's do it again. Like, let's go ahead and release something else and see if people will buy that too. And that is not meant to be a judgmental statement. I am one of those people. I bought the So Jaded palette and I absolutely love that palette. I love ColourPop eyeshadows in general. I mean, it's obviously probably working for them. This is kind of their business model. It's how things have been done for a very long time and how they probably will continue to go. I just feel like that is awfully soon to do a collaboration with the same artist. Granted, I really like KathleenLights. I think this eyeshadow palette looks really beautiful. I'm not necessarily interested in it for myself, but maybe if you didn't like the So Jaded palette and you're looking for something a little bit more soft, a little bit more neutral, this might maybe fit you a little bit better. So let me know what you guys think about that. What do you guys think about ColourPop releasing like a double collaboration, one right after the other? I just think it's kind of interesting. And while we are on the subject of KathleenLights, I wanted to mention her Lights Lacquer polishes that just came out. I'm very interested in these. I loved Kale Polish. I have a lot of her shades from her original Kale Polish that I really, really enjoy. I don't know that the formula of these are going to be exactly the same. And with Kale Polish, I really did love the formula of those, especially the drying time. I loved the drying time on them. They all dried very quickly, but I found between shades, some would last longer than others. So there were some shades that would just last for days and days on my nails and others that would chip by the end of the first day. It just kind of was hit and miss with me depending on the finishes and the shades. I'm not in a hurry to try them out right now. I actually think I want to wait until she has a few more colors out and there's a little bit more selection. These are priced I think at $9.50 a piece, which I don't remember what Kale Polish was priced at. I know it was a little bit higher. I want to say it was closer to $8, but I could be wrong. Maybe it was closer to $9. But one thing with Kale Polish that she often did would run flash sales and holiday sales. She'd often have them at like 40% off. So my guess is as this kind of gets rolling, maybe she'll do the same thing with Lights Lacquer. So I'll probably wait a little while until there are more shades available, a couple more collections are released, and there's a little bit more selection. I think the colors in this collection are really beautiful. I think they're interesting. I just want to wait a little while. I have plenty of nail polish right now. I definitely don't need to be buying nail polish, but I'm excited to see where she goes with this brand. So moving on to a couple things I think I've decided I'm not really interested in for now. The first one being the Jeffree Star and Shane Dawson Conspiracy eyeshadow palette collection. This one I've been back and forth between. I've had a lot of questions from you guys asking if I was interested in it or planning to pick it up. I know it's been out for a little while now, and as I've seen reviews start to roll in, it seems to be the reviews for the most part seem to be pretty positive. I mean, I haven't watched a ton of reviews on it. I just have been on the fence with the color story of this one. There's things about it I think are really beautiful and interesting, but then there's a handful of shades in both the larger and the smaller palette that I just feel like are not very me. I've been wanting to try Jeffree Star's eyeshadow formula for a really long time, but I always find he almost just pushes my comfort level just slightly outside of what I personally am comfortable with when it comes to color. There's usually a handful of shades in most of his releases that I feel like, ooh, that's pretty, but I'm not quite brave enough to go for it. Honestly, the biggest reason I think this one's going to be a pass for me right now is because there's been so many eyeshadow palettes releasing lately. I've accumulated more than I personally need. Let me know if you guys picked it up. Let me know if you are loving the formula. I've heard a lot of great things about his formula. So a couple more things that I have kind of my eye on. I don't know that I'm necessarily planning to pick any of these up anytime soon, but they have definitely caught my eye. First one being the new lipsticks from Lisa Eldridge. I am still interested in her original red lipsticks. They just are a little bit pricey for me. I've gone onto her website several times. I've put some in a cart and I just can't hit that buy button. I feel like I'm not quite there yet. She is definitely someone I am interested in trying out her formula just for the sake of trying out a Lisa Eldridge lipstick. She's kind of a makeup idol of mine. I've been following her since the beginning of her channel, basically when she came into the YouTube world. It opened my eyes to what a real professional makeup artist actually is, and I mean, don't we all just love her? She's just incredibly talented. I feel like she knows her stuff, and I'm pretty sure these lipsticks are probably amazing. Someday, I am planning to try one out. I just don't know that it's going to be right now. I also saw that Milani has come out with a holiday collection. This is their Gilded Gold collection. They have an eyeshadow palette that came out that looks similar. It looks very Natasha Denona to me. It kind of reminds me of like a mix between the Natasha Denona Gold palette and the Metropolis palette. I mean, it's smaller, but just the vibe of it feels a little bit like that to me, which makes me initially a little bit interested in it, but I'm gonna have to wait to see some reviews on this thing because I think their last palettes they came out with, not the original ones in the gold palettes like the Most Loved Mattes, not those ones, but the ones that came out after that. I can't remember what they were called. They had a green one and a gold one. I think they might have had like a purple or a red one. A lot of people seem to really dislike that formula, and so I don't know if this is going to be the newer formula that they've kind of changed to that people don't like quite as much. I'll be curious to see what people are saying about this eyeshadow palette. It'll be a pass for me for now. I think this one is going to retail for $19.99, which means most likely if you can find this in Walmart, it'll probably be $14.99. I think this one might already be in store, so let me know if you guys have tried this one out, what you guys think of it. The color story is beautiful, so I think if the formula is good, this is definitely one that might be worth $15. So I wanted to mention one eyeshadow palette that it's been out for a little while. This is from BH Cosmetics. It's the Fairy Lights eyeshadow palette. I've seen this for a while, but I recently was looking at it on Trend Mood's Instagram, and I was looking at the colors in there, and it really reminded me of kind of the feel and the vibe of the Carly Bible palette. I don't know that anyone's necessarily duped these two palettes side by side, but they look very similar to each other, and I know that this palette is probably a lot more affordable than the Carly Bible palette, so maybe if you passed over the Carly Bible because it was a little bit too far out of your price range, you might want to look into this palette because I felt like a lot of these colors felt very similar in tone and in finish to some of the shades in the Carly Bible palette. So I wanted to bring that one up because I think this looks like a really beautiful palette. I haven't personally tried the BH Cosmetics eyeshadow formula myself, but I know a lot of people really love it. So I want to finish off by mentioning Kylie Cosmetics and KKW Beauty. I mentioned these in my last video, talked about how I just have never really been interested in anything from either of those brands. So Kylie Cosmetics is coming out with a kind of Christmas Santa collection. This one again just does not interest me. I mean, I like cute Christmassy stuff. For some reason, this just does not really call to me very much. And the fact that it's a very obviously Christmas themed palette means that I'm probably not going to want to reach for it come February or March or April or May. So that's going to be a definite pass for me. However, the recent KKW Beauty and Mario eyeshadow palette has totally caught my eye. I don't know what it is. Just these tones in this palette just really appeal to me very much. I don't know, if there was ever a time for me to jump in and try out the KKW Beauty eyeshadow formula, this would probably be the palette that I would want to try out. The name of the palette is The Artist and His Muse eyeshadow palette. It is $45. There are 10 shades inside. I feel like $45 is a little pricey for 10 shades. So that definitely holds me back, and just the fact that I don't need an eyeshadow palette right now, but I have to say, you guys, the color story and the packaging on this thing look beautiful. I also wanted to mention the KKW Beauty lip liners. I've heard a couple of people recently mention those in favorites videos. They've said they loved the formula, they loved the lasting power, and they're actually pretty affordable. They're priced at just $12, which I actually think is a pretty good deal for a good lip liner. I mean, assuming it is a good lip liner, but I'm feeling a little bit of a pull towards trying out this eyeshadow palette and maybe a couple of their lip liners. Not sure when that will be, and chances are if I don't do it soon and then January is going to be a no buy for me, come February, I might just feel like that ship has sailed and other things might be out that I'm interested in, but I feel like they've caught my eye, so we'll see what ends up happening. Let me know if you guys are interested in this one, what you guys think of this palette. I think it's beautiful, but I know a lot of people might think it's a little bit boring. So that, I think, is all I have for you guys today. As always, I love hearing from you guys. What are you interested in? What things are you absolutely not interested in? Let me know in the comments down below. And that is it. I hope you guys have a great day, and I will see all of you in my next video. Bye. And that is not a state. I honestly don't quite know what I think about it, but sometimes it just feels a little bit, it makes me kind of feel like a sucker for spending my money on makeup over and over again. I don't know.